Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Yvonne from GingerChickRehab. I'm so glad to have you back today. And if you're new here and visiting my channel for the first time, welcome. I do lots of DIYs, trash to treasure, furniture flips with my husband Chris, and thrifting adventures to fit into the farmhouse decor. So it is Sunday Funday. So Sunday Funday is a collab that I co-host with Yanni and Diane of Decor Easy. If you are new to Yanni and Diane's channel, please hop over, check them out, hit that subscribe button. They do some wonderful farmhouse decor and put a vignette together like no other I have ever seen. They are from the Netherlands and I just absolutely love their enthusiasm, and I love how they put items together, how they change thrifted items. It's just a fun channel. So part of the Sunday Funday is a playlist. It is a playlist. You can add whatever you want. It is an open invitation, so you can see some thrift store makeovers, some furniture flips, some thrift hauls, some decorate with me. It is just a fun playlist to sit back with your morning coffee, because it's 8 a.m. it goes live, so you know, bright and early on a Sunday morning. So sit back and enjoy. So my Sunday fun day, I have usually waited to the end of the month to do my thrift store thrift haul makeover, so I save it for the last Sunday of the month. That way it gives me a month or a couple weeks in between thrift hauls to work on these items. And so I share the process of how I transform these items from thrift store finds into farmhouse decor pieces to sell in my retail booth. Now I know some of you just want to see the before and afters, and that's perfectly fine to fast forward. But for others, they are thrifters like me that have a retail booth, so we like to kind of share our how-tos and why we do what we do. So I understand if you fast forward and see the before and afters, but then I know that there are a few that'll stay and watch the whole thing, so you can get an idea of why I do what I do, and we kind of help each other out on YouTube. So this is what today's video is all about, is my thrift flips. So here's the items that I'm going to be making over, all my thrifted finds from my thrifting adventures. You know, it looks to me kind of like a hodgepodge of a garage sale items, but really I'm going to be giving these items new life in my Sunday Funday makeovers. So I get started right off the bat deciding what I'm going to be doing with these items, and right off the bat I know that I'm going to be making these 3 into risers using some thrifted items, and then for the big oval tray I have these wooden balls that are flat on the one side that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. And then my grouping, I know that these 2 are probably the neediest. We're going to cut that hard off of that paper plate holder and then strip that blue paint off this mirror. And then gathering all my boxes together, I need to decide what color I'm going to paint them, if I'm going to paint them at all, if I'm going to stain them, if I'm going to put a flower arrangement in them. So I just kind of set them off to the side so I can assess and think. So then after getting everything all separated out, it's time to remove any tags. Yes, I remove all tags, not only the price tags, but any stickers, where it was purchased at, where it was from. I mean, unless it's something vintage, which usually is not what I am painting over anyway. You know, it's just time to remove all the tags. Nothing says a flipped item like painting over a tag. Then I'll go through and remove any hardware, any hangers, anything like that that I do not want on any of these pieces, whether I reuse them or not. That comes at the end, but I remove anything to be able to paint it separately to get it the cleanest look. And like this swirly wire on here, I am not able to remove, so I'll just leave it there. And I absolutely love this candlesticks. I love the big, just the beast of candlestick it is, but I'm going to remove where that little pointy thing that holds onto a candle, and that was just a quick cut off with the multi-purpose tool. Now that I have any of the hardware removed that I want to remove, it's on to sanding some of these pieces. You know, you never know when I go to a grouping, you know, you want your paint to take really well, and like you could see the the marks from where that Bless This Home had sat on this wood for over time. So I want to make sure that I sand that smooth so it gets the best paint job. And any of these other items, I want to make sure that whatever I'm going to be doing to them, that my paint will adhere properly. So while I have the sander out, you know, I'm just going to go through and sand any that need it. And like on this candlesticks, you know, where I cut that off, you know, it kind of has a hole. It was like a little dowel just set in. So I'm just going to be using some of this Starbond glue, the thick, so I can fill that hole in. And then when it dries with, because it has this nice accelerator, in 15 seconds it's dry, then I can sand it smooth. Then while I have the sander out, I had this beautiful wooden bowl. I could tell that it had different woods, but like the finish on it was all beat up. I don't know if the camera was really showing that. There was marks and scrapes in this. So when I started sanding this, I was just in awe of the different types of wood. The walnut, I believe, is probably what this was made out of, it, you know, or different species. Oh my gosh, it was just beautiful. And then these 3 cutting boards were kind of an add-on. You didn't see them in one of my thrift hauls. I just happened to stop in a Goodwill, my local Goodwill actually, and run across a friend that is also she's a thrifter, but she is mid-modern, and she actually had picked up these 3 beautiful cutting boards and actually thought of me. So it was funny that we were in there at the same time, actually on a Saturday night, waiting for takeout food. But hey, it was meant to be that I ran into her for these beautiful cutting boards. So when I go to sand one of these cutting boards, you can tell that they are, you know, cut up from cutting meat on them or cutting stuff on them. And then they also have grease and other oils on top of them. So what I do is I start off with a higher grit and take it down to it is just clean wood. And then I will finish up after, because that wood will be all raised from that higher grit. So then I take this, after I feel like I've gotten all the stains and all the marks off, then I go down with the smoother grip and then just smooth the wood nice and soft. Then like on this one, the side piece of this wood was, you know, not really attached. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm using that Starbond, and then, you know, it has that nice tip that I can really get in there. And then since I am sanding it, you know, I'll be able to use the accelerator dryer on it and then hit that with that and then being able to sand that off. And yes, it's completely good now. Then on this one, it had these peg feet, you know, to kind of, you know, you can tell that these 3 were definitely homemade, but that's why I absolutely love them. And that these feet needed to be glued back on, so why I had the glue. You know, if you are a thrifter and you love the look of wood like I do, I absolutely love cutting boards as much as I love rolling pins. So for me, it's well worth the time, you know, it takes to sand these, I mean, they just look awesomely beautiful after you get them all sanded. And then on this rolling pin, I'm wondering if this was somebody's shop project, you know, like for school maybe. I'm not really sure. As I love all the beautiful different woods in it, it was definitely bumpy and uneven where they were glued together. So what I'm going to do, and then one side was a little bit thicker than the other. So what I'm going to do is just take this orbital sander until it is nice and smooth, and I will keep rolling it on the table until I get that one side down so it is even. So not only is it a beautiful piece, a beautiful decor piece for your kitchen, but it is also useful. Then I will finish up with sanding this cement bowl, as though I didn't, I was kind of thinking that it was cement when I picked it up. But, you know, I just loved the character of it. It may not be, you know, maybe more of a covered, you know, Davenport, you know, covered porch area than on your coffee table, but I absolutely loved it and I thought it was beautiful. So unfortunately, it was really high gloss, and I think that's why it was chipping off. And then after removing the vinyl lettering off of this paper plate holder, Chris is just going to cut that handle off round. I just want to update it from the 1980s heart and just make it more of, you know, up to date. And so he's just going to take the jigsaw and cut that handle off and then use his sander to make it nice and smooth, and then kind of try to match up. As you can tell, it's a homemade job, so it's going to be that perfectly imperfect, but round it to make it look like the handle wasn't really even there anymore. And then I'm going to be taking this mirror apart, though it was very loose and, you know, anyway, it just needs to be taken apart so that I can get some paint stripper on it to start remove some of that paint. I mean, there's just so many pieces and parts that are small that yes, I could sand it, but I wouldn't be able to sand those, you know, the little dowels and all these little knobbies on it. So it's just easiest to do the paint stripper. And then after getting as much as I could off with that paint stripper, that's the first time I've used that orange one. I'm not sure. I think my other one works a little bit better, but it's a little bit more smelly. So now I'm just taking some mineral spirits over the rest of the piece, and then a little bit of steel wool, and trying to sand more off that I can, and then let it dry before completely sanding it. So now that I have all these pieces and parts assessed, I have them taken apart, I have them, any hinges, any knobs, any hangers removed, I have all the stickers taken off. Now I can finally get to cleaning these pieces with some KRUD cutter, getting any residue, any gunk off of these items. So here they all are already. They are drying from getting their cleaning of KRUD cutter. Yes, you do want to make sure they are dry before moving on to your paint. Now while those pieces are drying, I go into our spray room. This is such a blessing. And I am using my Rust-Oleum paint and primer in one, and I like the flat black for our hardware. And then I just put it on a little piece of fire. You get that styrofoam that comes from, things that you buy. And so then I just spray it on, and I love the turntable so I can get all these angles and the ventilation of the spray room. And then I'm just inserting this photo here that I do use the polycrylic on the hardware to seal that paint in. The Rust-Oleum paint and primer is nice, but you still need to seal that in for longevity on your hardware pieces. Like I said, this is just a video inserted because apparently I didn't take video of that. Now for some of these pieces, like this paper towel holder, there's just some way that using a spray can of spray paint just covers them better. It's just hard to brush on and get those angles. And yes, we do have a sprayer, the paint sprayer, but when you're doing just a little items like this, it's not worth the time of hooking that up and all the time that you have to clean it. So some of these items, especially that MDF board, that board that's not really quite, real wood, the spray paint just takes better and adheres better, and the longevity is just better using a spray paint on them. And I'm sure you're thinking then, why don't you just spray these items since you sprayed those items? Wood and MDF board just take differently. That's why I didn't really sand that red holder. It's just the way that wood soaks in real paint, so I'm using my ready-to-use black onyx on my true wooden items, and I like to do an undercoat of black because I like to distress my items. And yes, some of these items will stay black, but that's just a process and a look that I like. So now while all that paint is drying, I really like to do this round robin when I'm doing multiple items. I get all these tables out, I get all the items assessed. This is just as a reseller, this is how I get mass quantities done, and so this is what works for me. So now on to my next round robin is I am going to be linseed oiling these cutting boards and that beautiful board and any rolling pins that I might have. And every once in a while when I'm doing a mass quantity like this, I run across items going, oh yes, I need to get these sprayed up. So I have this cake stand and then this vintage moving reel that I'm going to be throwing into this grouping. So now for these items that I spray painted with the Rust-Oleum, to seal that paint in, I am going to be using this polycrylic as a top coat, middle coat. It all depends on what the item's going to stay. The MDF board doesn't really soak in the paint, so I need to seal that paint in. And so what I'm doing, this polycrylic is just, that's what it's doing. It is sealing that in so that it is going to stay on this item. So if I went to move on to a white paint without sealing it in, the two paints would just kind of mix and kind of just make a gray mucky mess. So I just need to seal in the in-between of this item. I get asked that question a lot, why I do that. So for these black pieces that are going to be stained black, I am just going to use a I usually use a 100. I thrifted this paper. It says 80, but trust me, it's probably from the Dollar Tree. It is not an 80 grit by any means. It's probably more like a 220. But I'm just using this piece, and then what I'm doing is hitting the sharp edges of the items that I want to stay black because I like the distressed look, and then I will be finishing them up with a wax later. And then to finish up this grouping of items, I'm going to be sealing them off with some antiquing wax. I love this stuff on my black paint. Oh my gosh, it just richens it up. It soaks into, well, an MDF board is just kind of laying there, but it is, it just richens this up. I just absolutely love this antiquing wax. It just, it's a rub on, it kind of really work it in there. When I was sanding, not only was I, using that sandpaper to show some of the wood through, but I also took some steel wool over the entire piece to open up that polycrylic, so that gave something for this wax to soak into. And you just can totally see the difference between the two pieces, how it just richens that right up. And then I did have some raw wood pieces that I wanted to use this Waverly wax in just to richen up that tone and just give them a little pop of just the boring kind of plain wood and give them that walnutly. I just love how this Waverly wax gets in there, and they're just decor pieces. They're not pieces that you're going to be using, and just pops that grain of wood. And then for those MDF board items that are going to be painted white, I like to put a coat of this Rust-Oleum in flat white on top of them. It just is what works for me. I could paint them, but they spray better. As you see how they have all that pieces and parts and crevices. It's just nice to get a good coat of the spray on before moving on to my kills. You can see here as I move into my kills paint and primer on this piece after it had dried. It's, just how the filming went, that, this is how the order is. And then, so this is just why I get that good base coat on there with that spray. And then it doesn't take me much to cover using the kills with a brush. And for me, this round robin works well because as I'm constantly working around tables and working around items, I'm always waiting for paint to dry anyway. So as I was painting my white onto my second coat of white, and after the second coat of white had dried, I get asked this question a lot. I can see some bleed through, and so I'm just going to be using the shellac spray, and what that does is it seals that bleed through in, and so when I go to paint my third coat, that it is no longer going to be there, like especially on this wood piece. As you see also, it has bleed through in the middle of it. I had people ask me about, do I spray, right at the beginning. Don't waste the shellac. Just once you get into your second coat, if the paint did not cover that bleed through, then you need to spray it. I'm not one for wasting product, and I only spray the area where the bleed through is, not the entire item. So now I'm on to distressing my white pieces. Most of my white pieces are are almost dry. Every white piece takes, 2 to 4 coats, and some you have to flip over back and forth. So there's always something to be working on while you're watching paint to dry. So on my sanding, I'm just taking a 220 sandpaper, and then I'm just hitting those, those sharp edges of the pieces, and I want to see a little bit of the wood and some of that black undercoat showing through. And then I take, I do a heavy hand on the corners, but then a light hand over the entire piece to make it nice and smooth. And then on these metal pieces, that have the wordings on it, you don't need a strong sandpaper whatsoever. I just take my steel wool and a little bit of hand pressure, and then it just works, so I can see those letters on these pieces of metal. So on the items that I'm going to be making risers, I am using E6000 and some of that wonderful Starbond glue, and they are both permanent adhesions. And so what I'm doing is I am just centering to my best of my ability, kind of eyeballing it, pushing it in, making sure that it didn't slide. And then I'm just going to let the glue do what glue does and dry overnight, not disturbing them. So now Chris is going to be cutting the piece of glass for this mirror. So he has a glass cutting tool that I think we got at Hobby Lobby a while ago when my daughter did a stained glass project for fair. So all he's doing is measuring off, and then he's taking a straight ruler straight, you know, keep you square there. And then he is just going and scoring it once where you have the mirror side up. And then so he scores it once, and then he will go back through just like so. I know I had questions on this, so that's what he's doing. And then he will make sure that he has gloves on, and then safety wear for his eyes before he snaps the two pieces, you know, safety of, you know, those might be little shards of glass, so you want to make sure that you are safe. So all he does is put it at the end of the table and then snaps it. And then there you go. He has his piece of glass. Unfortunately, he has to make one more cut to it, you know, to fit that piece. And so we just get these pieces of glass. We just kind of hoard on them from items that were not needed. So he's going to do the same thing in case you guys really wanted to know how to do this. That he just takes that little scoring tool, and then he goes one way, and then he takes the scoring tool back down, and then he goes the other way, and then just brings it to the edge of the table. Now he has gloves on and safety wear, and then just, yep, and then there you go. And now we have a piece of mirror for this cute little mirror. For some of these items, I wanted to get them stenciled up, and I know you can't see that black, but you know, I was cutting out a piece of black vinyl, so you just fill in every cut that you can for a time saver. And I like to stencil using my multi-use black and white, you know, apple barrel paints, and I use, you know, I apply them with a makeup sponge from the dollar store. And then for the ones that I stenciled on black with the white lettering, I really love to go over the Waverly wax. I know that this is a piece of slate, but it is a decor piece. It's a very thin piece of slate, so you really just want to use it as a decor piece. But I absolutely love the richness that this Waverly wax gives to these items. So I don't know about you all, but I absolutely love doing these wood items. I just love it when you find these different types of wood, and I love taking that stain off that wooden bowl and just leaving it its natural self. These items are just fabulously beautiful, and I would keep them in my home if I had room. And I just absolutely love leaving that candlestick the way it was. I just painted the top of it black, and I just envisioned these all in black, and I just love how they just transformed these, you know, thrifted items into something so different and giving them a new life. Sometimes some of the fixes are easy and sometimes they're more time consuming, and I would have considered this grouping kind of easy. So on this little bee burlap, I had just coffee stained it just to give it a little bit more something and added some of the buffalo check ribbon, and then put those planters with a little bit of some baby grass and some, you know, Florifoam with some of the grass from the dried grasses from the dollar store. And I think Primitive and Farmhouse go hand in hand, so I absolutely love aging these products. And nope, I did not paint the inside of this box. I can just envision people using it for multi reasons, you know, and I put the old Farmhouse on both sides. So if you want to put it on your table as a centerpiece, it's two-sided. And I just loved my little crazy dog lady and my little crazy cat lady. I just thought that was fun. I was on the fence about putting some buffalo plaid ribbon on them, and then just keeping that paper plate holder general with some pantry. And I do like these little bowls, you know, I like those little trough bowls. I think they're great decor pieces. And I like updating that sign and taking that Blessed and Grateful that kind of looked kind of cheap, but now I think it looks more high end, and just a cute little decorative, you know, little riser bench there. And no, I don't always fill in all the boxes that I do. You know, sometimes people want to do their own thing with their box. And I just love the wood on that one, so I did not want to touch it. And then on the box with the iron, the original handle, as I was trying to put it back on the box, broke. So I guess it got a better handle anyway. And I absolutely love the red peeking through this, you know, this rooster paper towel holder. Oh my gosh, I just think this piece is just a timeless. And then I just love, you know, the simplicity of just these little decor odds and ends, and that simplicity of a chicken swatter that I would just probably just use as a decor piece myself. And then I think these are just nice, simple risers, though that I did not spend a lot of money to make them. You know, they were a little time consuming to glue, but I just think that they are nice, add height to your decor. And I have to say, I absolutely love how this cement bowl turned out. It is nice and smooth. I have no fears of that paint chipping off like it did with that glossy paint. And actually, I think you could use it on your coffee table. You don't ever have to worry about it sliding. It is nice and smooth because I sanded it nice and smooth. And I think this updating of this long tray, it's just a nice decor piece. You know, you can put it in the middle of a table or your coffee table. And then I'm kind of funny bringing glass out to the workshop, so I had the glass in here, so I'm just going to take a picture of this beautiful cake tray now that it is painted black. And the very last item is the mirror, the blue mirror. I think it was well worth my time to strip all that blue paint off, or most of that blue paint off, and get this glued back together, and so that it was nice and secure. Just a cute little mirror. So I thank you so much for watching my thrift flips, and if you watched the whole thing, I thank you. And I also thank you if you fast forwarded and you just wanted to see the before and afters. I totally get that too. So I thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to check out Yanni and Diane's channel, Decor Easy, and hit that subscribe button for their channel. Let's help them build their channels up, along with the playlist that is down in my description. Now this is an open invitation, so I have opened it, you know, for it to be relaxed, that, you know, all day long people can be adding to the playlist. So it's kind of fun. Check back once in a while, see if somebody else has popped on, to see if there's a new video that you would like to watch. So I thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you're part of my YouTube family, that has helped me grow just by watching our content and giving us a quick comment and a thumbs up. Lets YouTube know that you like our kind of content, and they will recommend my videos, and that helps out a lot. So if you're new to my channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button, and as always, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you know when I have uploaded a new video.